Hello, welcome to English Composition. Today we're going to be talking about how to write an expository research paper. Ooh. So, expository research papers usually include the following words: describe, explain, and define. This emphasizes to the writer what to concentrate on when he or she begins writing. It is important to focus on that signal word to maintain the thematic structure. For example, if it is written to define in the expository essay topic, you must provide a substantial definition of the object. So let's talk about what it means to find somebody beautiful. And beauty, as they say, is in the eye of the beholder, so everybody's going to have different definitions. So you're going to do some free writing, some brainstorming, some clustering, and you're going to come up with everything you find about a person that makes them beautiful. Maybe their intelligence, their beauty in terms of their physical look, their ability to smile when things are down, the way they are with kids. Any number of things will make a person beautiful. So at that point, you take those characteristics and they become the topics for each of your paragraphs, and then you're going to define that piece of beauty and give examples and details. So when we are looking at various and sundry humans in the world, if you want to describe someone as beautiful, you will often describe somebody like a movie star or a model, TV star, singer. But a lot of times people might find beauty in someone who's not quite so provocative looking. Somebody who raised you and made you feel good about your life. You might see your mom as beautiful. So, this is where the definition has to be really given meat and substance to. Characteristics, it is impersonal. This is not a paper about you or your feelings. It is unbiased. You are not arguing a point. You are organized and you are informative. In other words, you are to a certain extent writing to teach. The topic must be interesting for you to write and interesting for the audience to read. Now, for this particular class, you will be provided with a list of potential topics. Weirdly enough, they all begin with define, explain, or describe. So, once you pick a topic, you want to think about the research that should go into it. You need background. You need to know what's going on in terms of differing points of view on a topic. You need to be able to use academic sources and not just, whatever the first two things that pop up on Google are. You must be able to find and show worthy evidence and examples on the topic. Without it, your topic cannot be fully covered and the writing will be poor. Wah, wah. So let's talk about creating your thesis statement. You're going to answer these questions. Develop your thesis statement. What is your purpose? What do you want the audience to think, do, or know after reading? This will relate to what your audience doesn't already know. So, here's where you really want to start thinking about, this is my topic and what do I want people to learn about my specific topic? Do I have a focused area? Then you're going to turn your topic into a question. Because remember, a couple chapters back, we talked about doing that. Answer that question, and that helps you create your thesis statement. And again, go back to the thesis statement PowerPoint. I've got a little setup in there, an equation that'll help you create one, even if you can't come up with one on your own because your brain is fried or tired, or same thing. Next, we're going to organize our subtopics, and that's the big question: is how are you going to organize them? What is going to work best for you? and more importantly, what's going to work best for your topic. So some of your options include chronology, meaning time. You're going to start at the beginning and go, step by step through the chronology. Spatial, meaning locations. Are you going to look at this situation first, then that situation? Process, meaning step by step. Topical, piece by piece, by theme. Cause and effect, a historical overview focusing on connections between past and present, and the comparison and contrast. So you've been assigned to write a paper about why the ancient Roman Empire fell in 476. Not really, but you can pretend. So you will probably assume you could use a chronological pattern for organizing, meaning you're going to start at the beginning and go to 476. However, you could also use a classification approach, categorizing all of the colliding factors that occurred in the 400s, which led to the downfall. In the introduction, you could discuss how Rome ascended to be a world power and how those cracks in the foundation led to its descent. So, basically looking at how the things that were problems when the empire was growing and were ignored ultimately led to Rome falling. And then each paragraph or set of paragraphs could then explain in detail what those cracks in the foundation were. So here are some subtopics. And again, you got to brainstorm, you got to free write, you got to cluster. You could jump on the internet and do some quick research just to give yourself some ideas. So in general, here's, I guess, the top 10 or so. Bad leadership, generals who had their own private armies. How much? That's pretty fun. Drought, increasingly aggressive Germanic tribes. Empire was too big to manage effectively. Economic problems, over-reliance on slave labor, never a good thing. The ascent of the Eastern Empire, government corruption, and the rise of Christianity. So you could take each of those 10 ideas and turn them into at least 2 paragraphs each, which would give you 20 paragraphs right off the top. So let's talk about your introduction. The introduction for a 5-page paper will have more information than you would write for a 2-page paper. It only makes sense. You should introduce the topic, discuss the context in which the topic is being examined, and explain what you are going to demonstrate through your writing. The last sentence should be the thesis statement. Now, before we get into the body paragraphs, and one of the big issues a lot of times with reading something is that paragraphs go from one to the next without any kind of transition. It's very clunky. It's awkward to say. So instead, we want to discuss briefly transitions. And I'm going to give you a whole pile of transitions as a attachment in the learning management system. But clear and logical transitions between the introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. Do not expect your reader to make the connections between your ideas. You need to explicitly state them. Transitions will assist you in organizing and explaining, and it will help the reader understand your perspective. So here's an example of an unclear transition. The narrator in The Telltale Heart is insane. Similarly, the narrator of The Cask of Amontillado is also crazy. Well, this is absolutely doesn't tell me anything other than whoever wrote these stories, i.e. Edgar Allan Poe, was probably a little depressed. Now, an improved transition. The narrator, Telltale Heart, is insane and commits murder because he is paranoid that the old man is spying on him. On the other hand, that's the transition. The narrator of The Cask of Amontillado murders his friend for the oldest reason in the world, jealousy. So we have a much better understanding of where we're going from, talking about maybe The Telltale Heart in the previous paragraph to talking about The Cask of Amontillado, both of which are really awesome short stories by Edgar Allan Poe. So let's talk about your body paragraphs. Each paragraph should be the explanation of one general idea plus examples and details of evidence and support, i.e., your facts, your logical connections, your statistics, and even an anecdote or two. This will allow for clarity and direction throughout the essay, creating a level of readability for your audience, because that's ultimately what's important. A lot of times when I read essays or papers, someone will have, gone on a little soapbox diatribe for a good 6-7 lines of text, and I just have no idea what they're addressing. So make sure that these transitions allow for me to follow in the paragraphs how one moves into the other. And most importantly, it is important that each paragraph in the body of the essay must have some logical connection to the thesis statement in the opening paragraph. Even if it's a secondary, you need to go into a little bit of history to explain your thesis connection, that's fine. It's like having a second cousin. It's in the neighborhood. You're still in the bloodline. They might still give you a kidney. Then your conclusion should reflect on the essay or add a final clinching point. Remember that a conclusion, like an introduction, should be a fully developed paragraph. An effective conclusion reminds the reader of your thesis, but should not restate your thesis word for word, which I think I may have said in every single PowerPoint I've sent out so far. So, fingers crossed, no copy and pasting. And of course, just a reminder that there are lots of tech tools out there for writing. Grammarly.com checks your grammar, your spelling, and for plagiarism. And trust me, you don't want to get stuck with a 0 for a 100-point assignment. Microsoft Word has spell check and grammar check. I think Grammarly is better, but if you are a devotee of Microsoft, go to it. If typing is a struggle for you, download a speech-to-text app to help you get your thoughts out, and then you can shape and organize your paper. It's like some people make their pie crust from scratch. Other people buy their pie crust already put together. It's just pie crust. What goes in the crust is what's really important. Although, yeah, I know lots of people say the crust makes the pie, but that's beside the point. Can't remember every citation rule? Try EasyBib.com. It walks you through creating your citation. They really are a great website. They make you watch an ad for 30 seconds and then you have access for 24 or 48 hours. So it's a great tool for those of us who may not have every citation rule memorized in our heads. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, please email or text message me. If you're not in my class but still have a question, please leave a comment and I will respond as quickly as I can. Thank you and have a fabulous day.